Good morning to all. As we know that economics is a part of social science which starts from class 9. So to start that, I am taking chapter number 1 of economics, which is the story of village Palampur. In this, we learn certain concepts like production, distribution and activities which are performed by human beings and so on. So, before going to that, it is important to have a look on the description of the village. So, here is the description of village Palampur. There are two main things about this village. First is this village is an imaginary village according to the chapter. Second, farming is the main activity. Farming or agriculture is the main activity in this village. Next is, this village is connected with nearby village Raiganj and town Shahpur. Then roads are well connected in this village. Then this village has one senior secondary school and one primary school. Next, it also has one government hospital as well as it has one private dispensary. Then houses of this village has good electricity connection which is used for irrigation also. So after this description about the village, here comes the population distribution of the village. Now, population of the village Palampur. Here, 450 families are living in this village, out of which 1/3 or 150 families are lower caste families. Then their houses are made of mud and straw, means they are living in kacha houses. Likewise, these 80 families are upper caste families. Their houses are made of bricks and cement, means they are living in pakka houses. So basically these 150 families are living in the corner of the village, means they are not availing the facilities of the village. They are not getting the facilities of the village, and these are living at the center of the village. Every facility is approachable to them. So this all is about the population distribution in the village Palampur. As I told you that 150 families are the lower caste families. Their houses are made of mud and straw, means they are living in kacha houses and they are living in the corner of the village. Likewise, 80 families are upper caste families. Their houses are made of bricks and cement, means they are living in pakka houses and they are living at the center of the village, means they are availing all the facility. So these 3 points regarding two type of families need to be remembered. I hope you have understood this. So this all is the beginning part of the chapter. Now we will study about the concept of production. Now, what is production and why is it needed? If I say production is a process where raw materials are converted into other form, that is the finished or final products which are directly used by human beings. So why is it necessary? To fulfill human needs and wants. It is necessary to fulfill all the requirements. For production purpose, we have some requirements without which we cannot do production and our needs cannot be fulfilled. So there are 4 factors of production, in which first is land, second is labor, third is physical capital and fourth is human capital. So about land, it is a fixed factor, it is a scarce commodity, then it is a free gift of nature, and of course it is a primary factor of production. Without land, these factors are of no use. Second comes labor. Labor is of two types, skilled and unskilled. Skilled, we can say educated labor is skilled and unskilled labor is uneducated. But both of them are doing the same for production purpose. They are helping in production purpose. Next is physical capital. Without input, production is not possible. Physical capital is what we are investing to get output. It is further divided into two parts, fixed capital and working capital. So, fixed capital can be used for longer period of time and working capital can be used for short period of time. Fixed capital, I can say, if I buy machinery, tools, etc., it is a one-time investment and for long term, because I can use my machinery, tools, buildings for longer period of time, and year after year and season after season I can use that. But in working capital, as it is for shorter period of time, like if I purchase seeds, manure, fertilizers, I cannot use them year after year or season after season. I have to buy new ones. Next comes human capital. Knowledge, skills, to gather all other inputs or factors like a businessman do. It is human capital. So when we combine all the requirements of production, it is known as factors of production. So if the question comes that what do you mean by factors of production? So the simple answer to this question is that when we combine all the four requirements of production, that is land, labor, physical capital, human capital, that is referred to factors of production. So now we will take first factor, that is land. As I have told you that it is a fixed resource and it is scarce too, because of the growing population and growing human needs. Large production is needed to fulfill all the requirements. So on the available piece of land, we need to increase the production. So if the land area is limited, there is no scope for expansion. Only the thing that can be done is to convert the wasteland into cultivable land. Here we can go for growing more than one crop, means we can choose multiple cropping instead of doing single cropping on the same piece of land. So just have a look on the cropping pattern of village Kanpur. Here it is. People are growing crops in three parts. Here is the table presenting it. In the month of June, and from the month of June to September, they are engaged in growing kharif crops, mainly rice. Then from mid-October to mid-November, they are growing other vegetables. Then from mid-November to March, April, they are growing rabi crops, mainly wheat is grown there. Then from March, April to May, again they are growing other vegetables. So from this cropping pattern, we get two different ways to increase the production. First is multiple cropping. As I have told earlier, that growing of more than two crops on the same piece of land in the same year is multiple cropping. Second is modern farming. So what is modern farming? Doing agriculture by using modern tools and techniques like tractors, harvesters and so on. So after using all this, production is increased. Now after getting independence in 1947, there were so many challenges like increasing population, but the agricultural production was constant. So to meet this target, M.S. Swaminathan, who is known as the father of Green Revolution in India, suggested the idea of Green Revolution, which means to do agriculture by using modern techniques, using irrigation facilities, HYV seeds and modern tools and machinery like tractors, harvesters, etc. Green Revolution. which gave the idea of using HYV seeds, modern machinery, equipments, and so on. Now, what are HYV seeds? HYV seeds basically are high yielding variety seeds. High yielding variety seeds. So, these are meant to increase the productivity. Green Revolution was started in India in 1960 in Punjab, Haryana and Western UP. So why did it start in these places? Because the farmers here were rich, having capital or money to afford new techniques, and they took the benefit of it. But if one thing which is advantageous in one way, that can be disadvantageous on the other too. Likewise, here are some merits and demerits of Green Revolution. Like if we study about merits of Green Revolution, then first is production of wheat and rice increased. Employment opportunities also increased. Exports of agricultural products also increased. But when we come to demerits of Green Revolution, then we can see that there was an overuse of chemical fertilizers and pesticides which affected the fertility of land. And once the land loses its fertility, it is of no use. Then secondly, irrigation was used at very high levels so that land lost its sustainability. Means it is of no longer use for the future generations. So as I have already told you that there are 450 families in this village, but all the families did not have the equal distribution of land. It is unequally distributed. As there were 450 families living in the village Palampur, out of which 150 families have landless people, those do not have any land, and they work under large farmers and are laborers. Second comes 240 families, those who are having land but less than 2 hectares. These are small farmers and they all work under large farmers. Then comes 60 families, those who have land between 2 to 10 hectares. These are very few. These are known as medium and large farmers. So both of these categories like landless people and small farmers are working under medium and large farmers. They get minimum wages in return of their effort which they are putting, sometimes less than decided by the government also, because labor is in abundance but employers are less. They know that if one worker will go, then another is there to provide the service. All are working in less wages. So all of these are working in less wages. Now comes the capital. This is the third requirement. In terms of large farmers, they generate capital with surplus production or their savings. But small farmers need to borrow from them, from the large farmers. The term surplus production means when agricultural production is more than actually expected. So like this in this village, the land is equally distributed and the agricultural production takes place where large farmers exploit small farmers, rendering the money in lieu of high interest rates. And when small farmers find themselves unable to pay the debt, they go into debt trap. Now, we will move further to some other activities which prevail in this village, which are non-farm activities. These activities are other than farming. So basically, there are 4 non-farm activities. So first is dairy farming. This is the second main activity after farming. Then is small scale manufacturing. basically small handicrafts are made in this type of manufacturing. It is a home-based or family-based business where they do not need to pay to the outsiders, and they used to sell the manufactured products in the local markets. Then comes shopkeepers. They buy things from the wholesale markets, and then they sell the products to the people in the village. Then transport, as I told that all roads are well connected, different vehicles are there, so traders are using these vehicles to move from one place to another, and they are doing trading also. So this all is the story of village Palampur. I hope you all have understood the key concepts which will help you out. So with this, I end up this video lecture. Thank you. Students, as we all know that coronavirus is spreading everywhere. So be safe, be at home, take care of yourself and your near ones too. Thank you.